Now, many lawmakers across Capitol Hill are praising the president's measured response. For example, Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted, quote, "I appreciate President Trump's desire to be measured and thoughtful when it comes to Iranian provocations," before adding that nuclear enrichment should be a red line. Joining me now for a reaction are Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, Mike Turner from Ohio, and Mike Waltz, who is also from Florida. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. In full disclosure, I served with at least two of the three of you in the Congress, and I want to get your perspective. And Congressman Turner, I want to start with you. Your vantage point on the Intelligence Committee, I think, is also a very important one in addition to armed services. There is a very important date that's coming up, which is July 8th, which is the deadline that Iran has put out. They picked the number there for Europe to help get out of these sanctions that are crippling their economy. Give us your perspective on what's happening in Iran and the pressure that they're now feeling from the economic sanctions.
Well, Secretary Pompeo has described his maximum pressure campaign, which, of course, is to try to bring Iran back to the table to renegotiate the JCPOA, the nuclear deal that this administration stepped out of. Obviously, the goal here is to ensure that we do not have a nuclear Iran. Iran's feeling the pressure of those sanctions. Our European allies who are in that deal with us are feeling also the pressure and are understanding that this deal needs to be negotiated. Now, some claim that Iran's reaction to that, obviously, are the tanker attacks at which they're being blamed, and perhaps even this drone attack. But what's interesting on Capitol Hill is the debate is trying to restrict the president's actions at a time where the president is actually showing restraint. So this is certainly, I think, an interesting debate that's happening in Congress. Watching the president, as the Democrats claim he's trying to take us to war, he's showing restraint and trying to take us to the bargaining table.
Now, Congressman Walz, you're a freshman there, your first term in Congress, but your military service gives you an interesting perspective. Following up on what Congressman Turner was talking about, what is the atmosphere? What are Democrats and Republicans alike talking about on Capitol Hill? What are their worries and concerns?
But Jason, I've operated against the Iranians on the ground and dealt with them from previous service in the White House. And I can tell you the underlying premise here is what we have to agree on. And whether it's al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, whether it's ISIS in Iraq, whether it's Iranian-backed terrorists all over the region, we have to fight these wars over there. We have to take care of it abroad in places like Damascus and Tehran and Kabul, or it will follow us home. This notion that we see on both the right and the left, that if we just let them take care of it and bring the troops home and the world will be fine, I think is naive. We have seen that it will follow us into Europe. It'll follow us in the United States. We have to stay on offense. And while I absolutely respect the president's right as commander-in-chief, which all three of us have fought for on the Armed Services Committee, his right to give these green light, these go, no-go decisions, we do have to respond. Iran is a regional bully. It will continue to push. It is emboldened by weakness, and it is deterred by strength. And the president, I fully support him in keeping the maximum pressure campaign going. The reason they came to the table for the Iran deal in the first place is the sanctions were working. And I think he's made it very clear he's going to drive them back to the table, but get a better deal in the long run. And that's absolutely what he needs to do.
Now, Congressman Gaetz, what are you hearing and seeing from your colleagues on the floor of the House? What are their reactions to it? Because not everybody thinks like what Congressman Walz and Turner just articulated.
Yeah, I have great respect for my fellow Floridian, Michael Waltz. He's an American patriot, but I think what's naive is believing that engaging in endless, unfocused, unconstitutional regime change wars in the Middle East is effective either in the Middle East or back home. I mean, you just look at Afghanistan. We're down from having the Afghan government to controlling 72% of their administrative districts to 56% of their administrative districts in the last 3 years. And you look at the $6 trillion that we've spent in the region, and you think that's larger than the market cap of Facebook, Google, and Amazon combined. Now, I think an American first foreign policy advanced by the president is one that would prioritize getting the Gulf cartel out of the southwestern United States before we decide that we're going to be the policemen of the Gulf of Oman. And if you've got Japan and Norway not seeking war for vessels owned by folks in their countries being attacked, I don't think it's the job of the United States to avenge foreign vessels or American robots with the blood of our bravest service members and patriots, Michael Waltz being one of them.
Now, Congressman Turner, I don't think you'd necessarily agree with everything that Congressman Gaetz just said, would you?
Well, I think, Jason, that when we have this debate, we have to understand that enemies self-select. And the most important thing that we can do is have a strong military and a president that's not restrained in being able to take action. The debate, unfortunately, in the House over the past 2 weeks has just this week, the Democrats voted to actually repeal the 2001 authorization of use of force that was passed after 9/11 that allowed us to go after al-Qaeda and ISIS and continue to tackle those who want to do the United States harm. And just last week, there was debate about restricting the president's ability to respond to Iran that would have prevented the president of the United States from responding even if Iran attacked Israel. We have to stand up for our allies. We have to stand up for ourselves, recognize that enemies self-select, and ensure we have a strong military to respond to protect our country.
Congressman Walz, is the president doing what he's supposed to be doing here? How would you assess what's happened so far?
Yeah, well, I think where all three of us absolutely agree is maintaining options for the president and not allowing the Democrats to tie his hands for political reasons. He is the commander-in-chief. He does get to make those decisions. Congress does have a role in line with the War Powers Act, but at the end of the day, in response to my good friend Representative Gaetz, at the end of the day, we have to fight this abroad. I do not want to fight this in the United States. And when half the world's terrorist organizations exist in Afghanistan, when ISIS is sending and weaponizing refugees into Europe and the United States, and when Iran is openly seeking to attack Israel and to build a nuclear weapon to attack all of us, it's only the United States that can lead. And whenever we withdraw, like Obama did out of Iraq and like Obama tried to do out of Afghanistan, bad things happen. If we don't lead, then we leave the world open to China and Russia and Islamic extremism. America has to lead. That does not mean we have 500,000 troops on the ground. There is a lot of space between kumbaya world peace and 1 million soldiers on the ground. And those are the options the Pentagon needs to be presenting to the president right now.
So, Congressman Gaetz, from your perspective, is Donald Trump, the president of the United States, doing the right thing, or do you think he's taken a misstep here along the way?
No, the president has been measured and mindful and effective. The message has been sent to Iran that the only reason these strikes didn't occur is that the president wanted to make sure that we gave peace a chance. President Trump understands that we get peace through strength, but we can also achieve strength through restraint. And I don't get it. I mean, the Middle East represents 3.5% of global GDP, and we are obsessed with this area of the world. Meanwhile, China represents 15% of global GDP, and they have expanded their empire without firing a single shot while we've been involved in these endless Middle Eastern wars. I think we do need to reform the 2001 authorization to use military force, because if brave patriots are willing to go fight and die in these wars, I think members of Congress ought to have the guts to vote for them or against them and to make sure that we follow the Constitution and the application of military force. But the president has shown that he's mindful and effective.
Well, the debate will continue, but I think it's naive to say that China has never fired a shot. All you need to do is go visit with Vietnamese and others, as I've done when I was in Congress.
Well, in the last 20 years.
Probably in the last 12 months.
With them too.
With all due respect, I think if you looked harder at what the Chinese are doing, it's a very aggressive thing.
Well, they're not engaged in an endless war in the Middle East to change regimes.
They are.
It's a cold war.
For another day, gentlemen, for the other day, I really do think that the right answer to this is, if provoked, the President of the United States has clear authority, if there's clear and present danger, to take whatever action he needs to. If he's going to take a long-time war, then he should go to Congress, and he should get that authorization. But that's my perspective, and we'll have to debate this more. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. Thanks for joining us here on this Hannity special.